What is going on, Illumineers? Welcome back into the Madhouse, and today we have our AgroSong against a green-purple list. This is the same green-purple you actually saw last week when I was playing traditional, but today we're running my version of aggro. There's no mines. We're running that coveted double Tiana that I absolutely love with the 4 Simbas that let me do my super heavy mulligans that I really like. And looking at this list after playing it a little bit, there are some things that have since changed since the 12th of January. I have cut the Pluto and I have cut the 2 Kitas. And what I've done is I've opted to go for I've gone to the 4 Spins and I've gone to 2 Gantus. Now, one other thing that I do want to test out is I do want to test out maybe just cutting the 2 5 drops and just throwing in Rapunzel's towers and just adding in a little bit more defensive. You saw this with Kurt Spice at the Continentals with his mindless. He ran 2 of the Rapunzel towers in that list. Now, I did throw in the Donald Ducks here, and I threw in the Donald Ducks because of the Tiana package. If you play a Tiana on 3 and then you play a Bodyguard on turn 4, they're going to have a really hard time unless you're red running Brawl or Steel and you have like a Zeus or a Strength. You're going to have a hard time. Like purple just cannot get through the Bodyguard and the Tiana. So you almost auto win at that point. And so I did Donald's over Baloo's just because Donald is that extra, it's an extra inkable essentially. So you do lose the ability that Baloo gives you, but Donald is inkable. And Donald accomplished everything I needed him to do on this day because I needed inkables and Donald was there to ink. So with that, let's get to the gameplay. I commentate over 3 games. This is a best of 3. We go 2-1. Game 2 is really important. I make a lot of mistakes in game 2 that end up costing me the game, but they're mistakes because instead of just I got greedy and I should have just started questing. I should have just started laying down cards. And instead I got greedy and I lost by the amount of lore that I would have gotten if I just hadn't been greedy. So definitely check that game out. There's always more to learn from the losses than there are from the gains. So I do talk about that loss quite in depth. But I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you could have done differently. Are you a mine fan or a non-mine fan when it comes to Amber Steel aggro? That's the question. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy the video. All right, let's talk about game 1. And this is a best of 3. I am on the play, and these are opening hands. And this might be one of the longest mulligans that I've had with almost any deck. And if I play this whole thing out, you'll see that I put stuff down a lot. I pick stuff back up. And I'm sitting there in the back of my mind of how aggressive do I want to be with my mulligan. Because looking at this hand with a Pluto, Let the Storm Rage On, Piglet, Smee, Simba, Doc, and Daisy, this is actually a really good hand. And my first reaction when I see it is I love seeing Let the Storm Rage On in my opening hand. And my initial reaction when I see that is that I want to hard mulligan to try and get that baby Cindy because that is just such a strong play, especially where I'm on the play and I know that he's running green purple. So if I get my Cindy, it's almost an auto win because then I can go Cindy into Piglet into Daisy, Simba. Like the options are endless at that point. So that's what I start debating with, and as I play it out, we'll kind of look, and we'll kind of stop it when I get to what I end up actually doing, because you'll see that I put Let the Storm Rage On, and because I don't have a singer, and I start to kind of pick things up a little bit, and you'll see I have these down here, and then in this hand I have these 4, which is a really good hand here, and then I go to 3. So I do debate, okay, let's get rid of the Piglet, the Pluto, Let the Storm Rage On, and the Doc. Because generally I'm not a big fan of keeping Doc because I don't want to see a second. But the issue is that I have a Simba in my hand. So if I do mulligan into into another Doc, I can get rid of one. It still feels bad because then I have one less Doc in my deck, but at least I have draw power, because the last thing you want to do is just run out of cards because you don't see Rapunzels, because you don't see Docs, and then you lose at 15 to 19 lore. So you'll see I put those 4 down. I keep the Simba, the Daisy, and the Smee, I almost do my mulligan and I change my mind again. So we're now a minute into the mulligans. I see my 7 cards, I think, and still deciding what exactly I want to do, because I could keep this whole hand. Like, this is a hand that I could realistically keep. The Pluto is a free ink, and then I go Daisy, and then I can go, depending on what I draw, I could just go Simba to get rid of I could do Simba to get rid of the Let the Storm Rage on, or I just get rid of the Let the Storm Rage on because I know I'm not going to need it. So honestly, mulliganing 1 and keeping the rest, mulliganing the 1 that is Let the Storm Rage on, would be a really good option here. But you'll see that I do end up getting a little bit baited because I have Simba to dig me out of bad situations. You'll see I put, again, those same 4 down, and I end up picking it all up back up again, and I do it again, and I bring back the dock, and I have the Storm Rage on. So I'm just all over the place. And what it comes down to is that in aggro lines, you don't have as many lines as long because you're winning the game before, turn 5, turn 6, turn 7. So the lines you have to think about are very early. And what that means is that your mulligan is extremely important because that you don't have time to develop more lines as the game goes on. So a lot of the times with an aggro deck, you'll find that you'll lose based off of the mulligan. Did you not have the correct turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 lines? It's those turn 1, that's the mulligan, turn 1, turn 2 that dictate if you win the game, because the game doesn't go on much longer than that. You don't see a lot of aggro decks that are going for a really long match. So in the end, I end up getting rid of the Storm Rage on and the Pluto, and that's it. And like I said, I could have just kept the Pluto because that was guaranteed ink, and then just gotten rid of the Let the Storm Rage on. Overall, I'm happy with the mulligan. I think that was the right choice. I could have done a lot more damage getting rid of more. And then I draw into a Calhoun and another dock, which unfortunately I saw the dock, but it does happen. It's part of the game. I have Simba to get rid of it, luckily. So we'll kind of fast forward a little bit through this and get to my turn 1. So for turn 1, I start to struggle again because I'm on the play. So being on the play means that just start questing with the Daisy. Just get it done. I know that he's on green-purple. So because he's on green-purple, that means my Daisy will most likely always draw him cards, which does suck. But at the same time, if I get to 20 lore, it doesn't matter how many cards he has. And where he does get a lot of cards, again, like, he's not ramping, so he can only play so many cards per turn. It's a Daisy, so it's hard to get rid of anyways. And so I'm not too worried about it. So I start debating, do I want to go the Daisy or do I want to go to the Simba? And ultimately, I end up going the Simba route. And there's a very, well, there. Listen for a second.
If I get an uninkable.
Yep, there's that. There we go. So that was the whole reason there. If I get an uninkable, and because look, my hand had it had like 4 uninkables in it. So if I would have gotten an uninkable after playing Daisy, then my turn 2 would have been radically different. And I draw into a Cinderella, so it all becomes irrelevant anyways, because now I can just go Cindy and Daisy on turn 2. And then I see a strength. So that really makes my decision super easy. But like I was saying earlier, that mulligan in turn 1 dictates the entire game for you. If I had inked Piglet, which I did, and then played Daisy, and then if I'd seen an uninkable the next turn, then I would have just been stuck playing a Simba instead of a Smee, or maybe just inking the Simba and then holding on to things. So it all changes based off of that one card. That do I mulligan this to play this? Do I play this versus play that? And like I said, I opt to play the Simba to guarantee that I have a turn 2, a turn 3 going forward instead of suboptimal turn 2s and 3s. Because I would have had a turn 2 and 3, they just would have been suboptimal lines. And in a match against green purple or purple in general, you can't really afford to have those suboptimal lines. Here we get super blessed. He plays a snake, which is his best line. The only other thing he could have done is if he had a bunch of one drops, but snake is definitely lets him start getting the board. I'm just blessed and see a strength, and that's ultimately why I played the Cindy last turn anyways. And then now I have a choice. Do I play the Calhoun or do I play the Piglet? And again, I'm only on 2 ink, so I opt to ink the Piglet to play the Calhoun. And that is an interesting line because I could have just played the Piglet and gotten, in total, I probably would have gotten at least 3 lore, maybe 6 out of her. So that wouldn't have been a bad line either if I'd gone that route. But Calhoun is just a really safe card, and it pays off in the end, and you'll see why. But Calhoun is just a really safe card into green purple, guaranteeing at least 2 lore if I was to banish something, or 3 lore most likely, because I'll quest, they trade into something else, and then I banish it with Calhoun. So we'll kind of watch and see what happens. Right now I have 3 ink, 1 card in hand, and that was his Daisy trigger, the Ursula. This was a little bit of a misplay on his part, and this is probably what ended up costing the game, not knowing what else is in his hand. Like, I know he has the Chernobyls, but he forgot how little cards I had in my hand, which was only 1. So a little bit of a misplay on his part, I think. But yeah. So
I wonder what he's gonna do next turn.
go ahead.
Me too.
Turn the volume down on this a little. All right. So Ursula, Chernobyl, pass. See another strength, which feels really good. And here I debate, do I want to take out the Ursula or the Chernobyl? So I want to take out the card that is going to draw, or the card that can start trading into things with crab and living. And I opt to take out the Ursula because I don't want, if he plays a crab on Chernobyl, he loses the Chernobyl, guaranteed. And well, we'll pause it real quick to talk about this because this is really important. So if he had played a crab in this upcoming turn, then he could play, if I had left the Ursula alive, he could play crab on Ursula and then trade into my Daisy, taking away all of that power. Sure, I could have quested into it to get 2, but Daisy ends up getting me a lot of lore. Now, if I had left, and that's if I had left the Ursula up and blown up the Chernobyls. Now, if I had blown up the Ursula, which I did, and then he plays a crab on this next turn, he can still trade into everything the exact same way, but he loses the character. And that's a really big deal. And that would have really hurt if he kept that character alive. Now, there is, again, another argument of, well, I would have just blown it up with Calhoun. And that is actually a good argument now that I talk about this scenario. But I just wanted to make sure he didn't have anything left if he played a crab, other than the crab itself, of course, because then I can just trade into the crab if he trades into the Cindy or the Simba. So, moving on. We have a lot of wild conversations during this game too.
Request
so
for 1, 2, 3.
Go. We're happy to see that because he'll never have time to play it. Opting the Calhoun because if he plays a crab and takes out the Calhoun, we don't care. Or a fox and takes out the Calhoun, sweet. Whatever, you lose the fox. So might as well get that free lore. Get all the lore you can.
Smee and pass.
And then we get our Smee. So we love Smee. Such a great 2-drop. I have 2 of the best 2-drops in the game on the field right now. So here he's pretty much debating, do I want to trade and can I afford to trade? He has 4 ink, so he could, if he has another 1-drop, he could 1-drop Fox. Yep, okay. So, yeah, so he does have the 1-drop and the Fox, which is good. So he also might have been debating, do I just want the draw? And that would have been, this was definitely the best line. Lawrence is such a great draw there. We pretty much just wanted 2 drops. That's really all we cared about.
For 1, 2, 3, 4. And pass. No, I don't.
He's talking about red-blue right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, red-blue. Okay. All right, we're
The
pretty
glare is
much
awful at this table.
we're at a super good place right now because Lawrence guarantees me to 16, right? If he foxes again, he can take out the Smee, but that's all he can do. So that guarantees me 16, 17, 18. So again, there's nothing he can do to remove all of these characters going forward, especially where he loses the fox there. Now, Chernobog's can trade into Simba next turn, but again, that still leaves me with 3 lore on board. And the Daisy just seals the deal. Like there's literally nothing he can do at that point. So yeah, looking good. Doc did what it needed. Again, that's why I kept Doc, because if I hadn't had Doc, I would have been top decking for a really long time, and that would have really hurt. And I would have top decked, of course, into like the Smee and then into the Sven, but I would have never been able to play the Sven because I would have been stuck on ink. So keeping that Doc really paid dividends, and I can do that because of cards like Simba letting me do that and be a little greedy. Bam. Okay, so looking at this hand, we're not upset with this hand. Okay, we have 2 Simbas right here. We have a Kita, we have a Lawrence, Rapunzel, Daisy Duck, and a Pete. So looking at this hand, we're happy to see the Daisy Duck and the Rapunzel. That really has a good chance of getting me a Rapunzel draw because it's a 4 health character. So I have a 1-drop in Daisy, a 3-drop in Lawrence, a 4-drop in Rapunzel. Now, the issue is no 2-drop, and that really stinks. I'd love to see a Calhoun or a Smee, so I'd imagine that I'm going to end up being really aggressive and inking 4 because I just really want that 2-drop. Now, the other option is I could ink the Rapunzel, and by doing so, because right now, I'm going to be hurting to get to that 4 ink. And so I could ink the Rapunzel, keep the Daisy and the Lawrence, and kind of see what happens. But I mean, because that's something to consider. Is normally in traditional Steel Song, I always keep a Lawrence, I always keep a Rapunzel, especially with a Lawrence because it's so easy to get that heal. But it can be difficult in aggro to get there because you're playing so many characters, you're running out of ink, things like that. And then here I'm keeping Simba simply because it's ink. It's something I don't want to see later off the top deck. And yeah, it's something I don't want to see later off the top deck because it's just a weaker card if I'm top decking. So ultimately though, you see that I get rid of Daisy. Now, why did I get rid of Daisy? It's a 1/4/2. Well, the reason I ended up getting rid of Daisy is that on the draw, he's going to be able to go into Fox on turn 3. So if I play Daisy on turn 1 and then turn 2 I quest with Daisy, he draws a card guaranteed. I get 2 lore, but then on turn 3 he automatically gets a free trade with a Fox, and then he gets tempo with said Fox. And all I did was gain 2 lore, I gave him tempo, and I drew him a card for free. So I don't decide to keep the Daisy in this case because it's only going to hurt me. On the play, yes. On the draw, no, because he needs the card draw. So I don't want to give that to him. And then my hand, we see that I do end up getting, so I only kept these 3, the Simba, Lawrence, and Rapunzel, and I get the Smee, Pete, Sven, and Strength of a Raging Fire. So we're pretty happy with this. We guarantee a 1, 2, 3-drop, and then a 4-drop if we make it that high in ink. And it's relatively simple to get that draw with the Lawrence and the Rapunzel. So we always play the Simba. Go, do it. There you go. Good job. And don't opt to do anything, which is interesting. But ultimately, we decide not to do it because the Smee gives Rapunzel heal, the Lawrence gives Rapunzel heal. So we don't really need anything right now. We're happy with all these inkables. Calhoun, we could have been nice, but we draw it anyways. and I think I opt to play it right now so he can't keep questing for free with these brooms. And yeah, it looks like that's what I do. So again, happy with this because otherwise he could just quest for free with these brooms, but now he can't. Now he has to make that choice. And then if he decides to trade a fox into it later, cool. Now this though, this was a bad idea. I don't know why I did this. I don't know what thought process I had. Maybe, oh, he'll trade both into it, which is a really bad thought. I shouldn't have quested, period. I should have just left it alone, left it readied, because now, again, he gets the perfect fox. And sure, I can banish the fox with my Calhoun, but then I lose that tempo, and that doesn't feel good either. Or he could just trade both of these into it, and then he can play a fox still. So he could trade the broom and broom into the Simba, and then he can play a fox to bounce one of the brooms and draw with the other one. And so I don't get any Calhoun opportunities anyways. And just really bad, really impatient, really silly mistake to do that quest there. All right.
If there was only one of them right now, I'd probably try to finish them in reverse. 3. So that'll be all my charges. And I will. You can countercharge for 2 seconds.
All right. If you want. Crab is gone. Feels good. Never like to see crabs.
Nice.
Peter Pan. That breaks my soul a little bit when you hit the card like that. But his carders are not just triple sleeved. I'm pretty sure he said they're quadruple sleeved in the end. Also, he makes me these boards. He made this newer board for the streams. I was using the black one, and he made this one because it's prettier, and it's Winnie the Pooh colors. And these are little pop figures. I know this is off subject from the video, but he's making me a couple of these for the giveaway as well that we're going to be announcing here pretty soon. It's magnetic. They're awesome, and you guys will really like them, whoever actually wins them. And he's not opposed to making them if you were interested in some buying or sales inquiries. Moving on. Okay. So we got a Calhoun. Cool. Doesn't do a lot. Peter Pan's evasive. That Peter Pan, I'm pretty sure, lives for a really, really, really long time. Now, if I ink that Smee, that's really silly. I should ink the Donald. It looks like I'm going to do that, which I hope I do. Yes, perfect. And then we go Lawrence. And pass. Now, I could have quested there. So this would have been a good opportunity to quest because there's no way he punishes me. The brooms can't trade into Calhoun. The Peter Pan can't challenge into Calhoun. So all that he could have done is played a fox and then hit the fox, but then he loses the fox, and we're okay with that as well. So that could have been a good play there of questing with Calhoun and just getting that one lore. And then in the end, you're going to see that one lore is extremely important. So, all right. So he ends up bouncing one, sacrificing the other, getting a... did he draw? Yeah, there's his draw from the broom. Yep, okay. Perfect. So that's his ink. That broom right there is his ink. He plays the merfolk and the fox, and we don't have our Rapunzel heel right now, which is a little rough. But we do get double Smee, which does feel really good, and we're happy with that. This turn is part of the reason I've made some changes to the deck that I talked about in the intro, because double Smee is just so strong. But losing that one damage makes him really easy for the Peter Pan. We take out the fox because we don't want that nasty thing around that trades so easily. And then again, there I do quest. So, okay, so we should be at 3, and then he should have no fox. And this is where things would have been so different, right? Because if I had quested the last turn, then he probably would have traded into the Calhoun, right? So when he traded into the Calhoun, that means he has no fox, and then his board is only a Cursed Merfolk and a Peter Pan. So that leaves me the opportunity to still strength the Cursed Merfolk or the Peter Pan. And you'll see at the end, again, that 2 lore plays a major, major impact. So again, just not being aggressive enough, playing too much on the defensive with an aggro deck, which is something that I have been struggling with. So just something to keep in mind. That one quest could have changed so much because I could have strengthened this cursed merfolk here or strengthened the Peter Pan and just changed the outcome of the entire game for sure. But then you wouldn't get to see game 3, and game 3 has one of my favorite plays ever with this deck, and I actually got to do it twice during this locals, and I feel so bad for my opponent because there's just nothing they can do. All right, plays the rabbit, which is a little slow, but at the same time he gets to draw, which does feel good for him. But there's really nothing you can do here but quest. So, and it's a little. This is where things get rough too because I essentially lose my Rapunzel heal here, I believe.
We'll take out Chris Merfolk.
Yep.
Banish Pete.
And then I hope that I play the Rapunzel.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And pass.
See, that was. I think that I should have played that Rapunzel here. We'll mute it. So, if I would have played that Rapunzel here, I would be threatening 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I would be threatening 19 next turn. So that would, I believe he already trades into these anyways, but that Rapunzel would have just been huge. And I got greedy, wanting to try and get that, knowing that the Rapunzel heal is never going to happen anyways, because he'll probably trade the rabbit into the Smee because he can't let it live, and then the Peter Pan just quests. So I'm never getting the Rapunzel heal anyways. He plays too many evasive characters. It was just, again, really bad. I got baited by trying to draw cards that I would never get. A 1-5-2 is a massive, massive thing. So even if I had the Rapunzel down now, I'm still threatening 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 on board that he has to answer. So, and then now he knows there's a Rapunzel, so he's not even going to play into it. He can just quest these evasive characters and call it a day. So, just such an awkward position for me to be in. Kita is a really awkward thing. I hope that I play the Rapunzel this turn. Please, please, please play the Rapunzel this turn. Please. I don't even know
right now, so.
We have
Najee.
Oh, we're talking about set champs and red purple players and stuff. So, please get that out of the way. See, I'm still getting baited by the need to draw.
Yeah. Yeah, I reached out to him a little while ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to Ink. Pluto. Plus 3. Pluto wood.
We'll link Rapunzel.
No. See.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was such a bad play. Oh man, because I had 4 ink, right? So I could have played the Rapunzel. Still, I could have played the Rapunzel. And then all I had to do was draw into an inkable, right? So if I just played the Rapunzel here, I'd be threatening, so I go up to 13. So I'd be threatening 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 on board, right? With the Rapunzel. And then if I draw into an inkable on my next turn, I could still play the Kita, and that Kita would represent my 20. And then there's nothing he could do to stop that. So again, not playing that Rapunzel on turn 4 is what ultimately lost me this game. It's all those minute things of not just play a 1-5-2 because they have a hard time doing anything against it, especially when everything they're going to do trades into these characters and they lose their character out of it. Because now, if he plays a fox, his fox gets to live, right? And that doesn't feel good either. And just, yeah, silly. So,
Straight into anything.
Okay. Judge call.
Your Ursula will get Hall over her attack if that's. No, go ahead. You ask.
Ursula, when that was a mistake on my. Okay.
Kita affects my board, but not my hand. So
Correct.
anything in my hand, I'm rushing into you.
Yes.
Okay.
It
And
does
I
not
still.
affect your hand.
Okay.
So
Except for the Ursula. The
Yes.
Ursula would still get -3 shift, right? Because the
Yes.
shift
the
holds
shifted
the.
Ursula,
yes.
gets,
Oh.
that's
Yep.
in play.
That's
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
quest
I got it
for
for that.
1.
Mhm.
Foxing for 3.
Yep.
Incomplete play a piece.
Yeah. So that so anything on the board. So in that case, if because Ursula is on the board, if he had shifted big Ursula, it's still the same Ursula, right? The effects still stand. That's why things like Jim Hawkins, if you shift Jim Hawkins, it still gets that plus challenger of inking that turn. So if you ink twice, then the shift Jim Hawkins becomes a 9. And his Fox should still be alive. I think we let him know about that in a second. So everything that I deserve to get punished for actually happens. Because he is a 0. He is a 1/4 right now. So the Fox should come in, yep, and then exerted with 1 damage on it. There we go. Yep, there we go. Yep, and I deserved all this. Like massive misplays that I deserve to get punished for. So
Hiram?
Take
silly.
out Fox.
Silly.
Hiram, not you flexed with Hiram.
Go ahead.
Tipo.
Yeah, pass.
Pass?
Yeah.
Alright. And a draw.
I T-poed and then
2, 3, 4.
Yep.
inked, T-poed, then it was
And then he
Do 3 first. 1, 2, 3. Kita crash.
Go to
and
19.
go.
6. Go for 4.
Yep.
Gate.
Yep. So.
That was for 2.
I don't know why I was about to stop it.
Plus 1.
Yeah, so just silly mistakes. Don't need to keep harping on it. That's just aggro, right? Play your cards. That's it. Just play your cards. But let's jump ahead. Let's jump more ahead. Okay, here. No, a little bit more. Bang. No, not too much. Okay. Okay, right here. Look at that pretty Rapunzel. Okay, so this no 1-drop yet. We're not happy about that, but we have Sven, Calhoun, Zombie Lilo, Doc, Pete, Tiana, and Rapunzel. And overall, I feel pretty good about this hand, except for no 1-drop, and that is what worries me. Now, I do have a good 2, 3, 4. I have a Calhoun into a Tiana into a Rapunzel, but that leaves me with a lot of uninkables. So that is something to consider. I don't have Simba, and I have a lot of uninkables. So how do I actually go about doing this mulligan? Now, because my turn 2, 3, 4 is so strong, I could just keep and not have a 1-drop. And that's not the worst thing in the world. I still have, let's see, 4, 8, 12 1-drops. So I could still top deck one on but that's going to be turn 2. So I don't really care about it at that point anyways. So what do I opt to do? And I could just go a little bit aggressive here because I could just go ahead and go 4 and see if I get really punished by getting rid of Pete, Doc, Lilo, and Sven and seeing what happens there. I could just keep the Lilo, and that way to guarantee I have 1 ink, and that wouldn't be a bad play either. And to be completely honest, I don't remember what I do here, but I think keeping the Lilo, so I opt to keep the Sven instead, it looks like, to keep at least 1 inkable. And no, do I do this? Is this the route that I go? I would recommend keeping at least 1 inkable. Okay, all right. So instead, I think I get rid of the uninkable. Okay, and that's not a bad choice. I'm actually pretty happy with that choice because I run 3 Calhouns, so the odds of seeing another 2-drop with my 3 Calhouns, Piglets, and Smees are really high. And that guarantees I don't have to keep one of those inkables that I don't really care about anyways. So looking at this hand, we're doing okay. It looks like, I hope that's not a double dock because that will be unfortunate. Nope, that's Calhoun. Okay. But we'll kind of see in a second what that hand looks like. Okay. So we do have a lot of uninkables right now, and that is unfortunate because right now we are stuck. We can make it to turn 2. We can go Cindy on turn 1, ink the Donald Duck, and then turn 2 we're being forced into getting rid of the Rapunzel. But that doesn't feel bad because we drew into the dock. So right now we're in an okay position. We're going Cindy into Calhoun, and then we'll see what I draw in the next couple turns, and hopefully going into Tiana, because Tiana in this green-purple matchup is not an auto win because there's ways they can counter it, but he doesn't know I have Tiana yet. He hasn't seen Tiana, and he just doesn't know that he needs to prepare for that. So we'll kind of see what happens. God, such a beautiful, beautiful card. All right. Draw an inkable. Yes, feels good. Never punished. Actually, let's go back a second. So I just realized something really important. So I inked the Donald and then I passed. Now, I did that because what if I draw into a bunch of uninkables? And sometimes you just have to do that. Now, in hindsight, I could have played the Cindy, but I never knew if I'd draw 2 uninkables. Because right now, if I'd played the Cindy, I would be stuck on turn 2 with literally nothing else I could do. But by keeping the Cindy, it guarantees that I can make it to turn 3. It guarantees that I can play every card in my hand, because if I draw only on inkables, then I can ink Cindy on turn 2, ink Rapunzel on turn 3. So really important there, actually, that I skipped playing that. Just, again, looking at what the lines are going forward. So play the Calhoun, happy with that. We don't mind discarding card if we have to by blowing up the merfolk. We'll gate that 2 lore and be happy. So we love to see that go away. No songs, which feels really, really good. And then now he's about to get beat up by Tiana's. So now there are things that he can still do, but he needs to get going, because if I go double Tiana, there's absolutely nothing left in his arsenal that can combat that. All right. Does that. Perfect. So now we're going to be on 3 ink, which feels really good because we can get Tiana down, and we're getting closer to counting our win already, because now I'm just debating, do I take out the merfolk? Do I have enough cards to be able to? And the answer is ultimately yes. I can take out the merfolk because I have all the ink that I need. Next turn, I could... if I take on the merfolk, I can just get rid of Rapunzel here, and then just so many options. But I don't do it. Okay. Oh, okay, I did. Now I'm deciding what I want to discard. So it looks like I may be considering Doc, which would be interesting. The answer should be Rapunzel. I should get rid of Rapunzel here. So, perfect. Okay, good. Because now if I wanted to, I still have another ink to get me ready for the dock turn, because I'm always playing Tiana in my next turn. That's always going to happen no matter what. So I just play the I ink the piglet and do that. So he bounces that, which, whatever, we'll just play it again. Hopefully ink the piglet. Looks like I'm not going to. And I pass as well, which, again, there was no good reason to pass there. I should have quested. I should have gotten that 1 lore. Genie, we're still not super concerned. So let's see how things develop. So here we're looking good. We can, again, just ink the piglet. The answer is always play the Tiana. The other option is just play piglet. No, I only have 3 ink. So I have no good reason to hang on to that dock, I think, or hang on to the piglet. I think I'm ultimately just hoping to draw another inkable to play it out, because he'll have no way to blow up my piglet because of the double Tiana. So again, I could have just quested for 3, and there's not a lot he could have done about it. because he would have had to play a crab, and crab plus 3, that wouldn't have been enough anyways. So now I'm down 4 lore that I should have. Again, not being aggressive enough, not taking my time and really thinking. And that's one thing I do struggle with at locals is I don't slow down. I don't take it seriously enough to really think out all the decisions that I have to think out. So go ahead, take something out. I don't want him to bounce one of the Tianas. I'd rather just keep that there so I can start doing things, and then I can go double Piglet, which I hope that's what I do here. Because that just, once I play Piglet, that's 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 lore on board. And then just quest for 3 here. And at this point, what is he going to do? Like, there's absolutely nothing he can do, because to attack with anything, he has to pay 6 ink. And he can't play a character and pay 6 ink. At this point, there's nothing. He can't even race me because I have 2 piglets down. And there's nothing to do about that. So his only option at this point is like kick cloud kickers to continue to try and bounce my characters back to hand. That's about all he can do. And I got rewarded for banishing that kick cloud kicker because he plays snake. So yeah, the next turn we refill anyways. Now he can quest for a lot, right? Because I can quest, I'm at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. But he's at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So he's not quite there. Because if he quests with these 2, I'm going to trade into it with the Calhoun. And yeah, so he does quest because he sees the writing on the wall as well. So at least here he gets a draw, which does feel good. So now I can just ink the Rapunzel and then go Calhoun and Doc and hopefully drawing into a strength would seal the deal like every day. We gain 2 lore. We go Calhoun and Doc. All right, draw 2. All right, Simba, and we're just digging for a song because I don't think there's any way we ever lose, but it'd still feel better if I could blow up his genie, right? Because yeah, now we quest for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and he would have to get to 20 this turn. And he's at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So he doesn't have enough ink. He's not blurple. So there's no goat craziness that's about to happen. Yeah. The race is on. That's all you can do at that point is just race like crazy. He's wondering if there's a way, but yeah. Yep. Man, oh man, Tiana.
Then I realized if you use...
Yep. Okay. Well, there we go. The double Tiana just really coming in clutch. I love Tiana. I would not run an aggro list without Tiana unless I was running something like the Boomy version where it's running wheels, because then I don't want the 3 cost uninkable in Tiana. But other than that, any aggro list that I run will have Tianas for reasons like this. Earlier in the day, I played double Tiana against a blue steel list, and he couldn't do anything because he couldn't find Let It Go, and he didn't find his Zeus, and there was just nothing he could do. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the match against Green Purple. You've now seen it with traditional Steel Song, and now with my aggro list. And I hope you learned some things. That game too, I could have won, but again, just not being aggressive enough. And even in this game, not being aggressive got me to this point, because if I had quested with these 3 lore, I would have won last turn. So things to keep in mind. You're an aggro deck. Just be aggressive, okay? Plan out your lines. Play a smart mulligan. Ink smart on turn 1. Be aggressive. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that you learned something. Until next time, stay happy and healthy. I'm out.